Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 11. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for joining us this Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, Steelers preseason has wrapped up a 25-19 loss to the Carolina Panthers last night, and that means the craziness is about to begin. Roster cutdowns due Saturday at 4 p.m., and then we're on to New England a week from 2 days from now. So it's going to be a wild, wild week coming up.
We're on to New England. I like that.
I stole that from Belichick.
Boy, what an entertaining preseason. I don't know where this one ranks in there, but obviously getting into that. I mean, you get into that final one there, and you get about halfway through it, and then at that point you're thinking, man, just both teams run the ball, so we can get the heck out of here. But I mean, overall, right from the get-go, I remember saying that. Man, I obviously excited about any first preseason game, but found myself really in tune with what went on throughout that whole thing. The second one, not as good. I didn't think. The third one, obviously with the starters and all in there, was enjoyable. This one, for about a half, was enjoyable, and then it got kind of super sloppy as these fourth and final ones usually do there. So now the fun begins. Now all of our final mock drafts are starting to creep in, and then obviously the Steelers will have to make their decisions by Saturday at 4:00, and will there be a trade? Will there be a signing? Got to set the practice squad. Obviously, an exciting next, 48 hours or so, and really possibly on into next week too. Because if there is kind of a IR move or whatnot that you need to make, which I kind of doubt that's going to be the case, but stranger things have happened. And then not only that, Joe Haden, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, probably at least one contract extension is still on the way here prior to next Sunday.
And yeah, there's a game next Sunday too.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
Pesky Foxborough team that you're going to face off against. So, yeah, there's so much going on. Let's hit the injury report briefly because I know I always forget to mention it at the top here. Team seemed to get out pretty healthy. Tomlin didn't have a formal injury report. He was asked about it later on during his press conference. Justin Lane seems to be the notable one. Not even sure what the nature of the injury is. He left the game after getting beat for a touchdown, got hurt on the play before. Robert Spillane might have gotten dinged up. Hopefully that's not too serious, but team got out pretty healthy. Lane's the guy to watch. Is that?
I would think. I would think that's the case.
And you suspected maybe some sort of head injury. I didn't watch the replay of the Lane injury. Mel said she wasn't sure either.
Yeah, I don't think she's really sure either. But I don't know what the general consensus is on that. I thought maybe concussion because of the way he came back into the game. When he went off. Now here's one thing that you probably, I don't know what, you saw the KDKA version, right?
Yeah, I didn't see him come off.
Okay, well here's the thing, on the NFL Network they were showing the Carolina version, okay. And they showed him go off the field after that collision. Who did he collide with? Do you remember?
Marcellus Branch?
It might have been. But he immediately, you see him walk off, and I thought, okay, he's dinged, he's walking off. Well, then they line up the next play, and he's on the outside, and then that's the play, of course, he gets beat over the top on right there. So the way he was running, obviously got beat over the top, but he didn't look, at least to me, he didn't look hindered. Okay. And then, he left not long after that, went to the locker room. My guess, and it's all it is it was maybe a concussion of some sort, or get checked out for a concussion. Now, I joked with Mel that I put a clip up on Twitter, and I joked with Dr. Mel that being as how it's not groin, I'll defer to her. To hear her tweet back, Maybe she does think it's a groin. I haven't zoomed in or slowed down, but regardless, I mean, I don't think it's knee or anything super long term. But I could be wrong on that. But that's the only injury that I saw last night.
Right, and we won't get any injury report until Tuesday. Is that when the first injury report Tuesday or Wednesday?
Well, Mike Tomlin will talk to the media on Tuesday. I don't know how forthright he'll be, or if he'll be asked the right questions or not. But then obviously the first injury report comes out Wednesday.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll be on the lookout for that. But like you said, any roster moves could kind of give you that hint early on. Let's go through the recap of the game. We'll go position group by position group because, again, that's the easiest thing for us. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Mason Rudolph, got to be your number 2 quarterback. I think he stamped that case Thursday night.
Yeah, I thought he did as well, too, and it's the end result of what we thought and hoped would have happened. Boy, he looked throughout the preseason, obviously he had, what did he have? 4 touchdowns, one interception, and the interception was that miscommunication in the game against the Titans. He was able to push the football down the field quite a bit. I thought the touchdown that he had Thursday night to Johnny Holt, cover one man press. I thought he did a great job of looking off the middle of the field safety and then put that ball. I mean, Johnny Holton did a great job of getting the separation there, and the ball was on the money. I thought he answered a lot of questions when it came to him. Pushing the ball down the field there. I thought overall his accuracy, wasn't bad. Just top to bottom, I thought pocket presence on a few of the plays was very good for him as well. I think he even said after the game that there was some communication issues maybe on his end that he'd like to get cleaned up. Look, he's obviously not a finished product, and but I think there was a clear improvement. And then some over the way he played last year during the preseason to this preseason, and I thought he was clearly the best backup quarterback of the bunch.
Tomlin talked about, as a group, guys straining towards the end, finishing strong, and I think that really is something that Rudolph did a nice job of. He had an okay start to camp, then it kind of got a little quiet in the middle. The first game wasn't anything particularly good, and then it got really a whole lot better from, I think, the second game on against Kansas City and then Tennessee, and then to finish things out last night against Carolina. So, yeah, I mean, the thing I'm impressed with him and the thing I've always said with Rudolph is that while he doesn't have a huge arm, his accuracy, his placement, his timing on the deep ball is really impressive. And I thought he was accurate to all levels of the field. I think he continues to show good pocket mobility, especially within the pocket, extending the play, moving and finding space to keep the play alive. Even that little crosser to Tevin Jones, where I think it got called back, but he's able to just kind of find space in the pocket. So I think an easy decision for the team at this point. Josh Dobbs is probably going to make the team as a number 3, but Rudolph's got to be your number 2.
I believe so as well, too. And now, I guess the only real question is now, look, Hodges, to come in when he did, and look, Dobbs, the rhythm was messed up right from the go, right? You had the bad snap for him, then had to kind of scramble with that, and obviously went 3 and out because of the turnover. They went. Didn't they go almost the first full quarter with only running 3 offensive plays? And then, he got, what did he get? Another 3 series in total, something like that. And then, he never could get it going. And look, he never threw a touchdown. He never led a scoring drive through the preseason, although there was the one, what had happened? The throw to Washington, that we thought maybe Washington probably could have came down with. I think it was at the first or the second first preseason game against Tampa Bay. That might have been the best series that he had, But obviously, you just look at the raw stats, and he didn't lead a touchdown drive. He had the 2. One real ugly interception. One, was it tipped? Was it not? And obviously the accuracy issues, which have shown up, quite a bit, especially on the kind of the shorter area throws with him. I think he could do worse for a number 3 quarterback if he's it, obviously. But I think without a question, it's Mason Rudolph and then Joshua Dobbs.
Yep, I agree. I think that's pretty locked in. The only question is if Hodges could sneak in on the practice squad, if you felt like, you had the luxury of that. Obviously, last night was his worst night, but the dude got no help. Receivers dropping passes, Malik Williams couldn't catch. The O-line was terrible, so, I think that was obviously a tough way for Devlin Hodges to end things, but it's hard to blame him too much because I didn't think he had much of a chance to do anything.
Who, Hodges?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough. Fourth preseason game to get in there late like that, and that offensive. Like I said at the start of the show, boy, you get past halftime there, and both teams, look fairly lousy at that point. So
Yeah.
He entered that game, technically. You look at all the drops that he had during the preseason, you could have made an argument that he was like, 17 of 18 or whatever, based on that. And then, running, looked like the Aflac duck maybe
That's fitting for Duck Hodges.
In the second half there, the way they were getting after him and all. But I still don't think he did enough to supplant Dobbs. I think the only question is, who might come calling for a guy like Dobbs, if anybody, and if so, would you be comfortable with him as your number 3? Talking about Hodges.
I can't see anyone having enough interest to trade for Josh Dobbs. What has Dobbs done on tape to compel a team to give up a draft pick for him? I don't see it. And history says that at best you're looking conditional 7th, and you factor in his play, and you're not going to have enough value.
I don't know. You look around the last couple of days at some of these trades. So some of these reserve offensive linemen getting dealt for 6, and we'll see. I know the Colts brought in Brock Osweiler, and who else they bring in? It seemed like they brought in somebody else for a visit as well too. They're obviously looking. Because look, they have Kelly's got to miss the first 2 games with a suspension anyway, right? So if Frank Reich decides he wants to keep 3 quarterbacks, they I don't know, maybe they go out and try to get him a backup and all, but I'm not sure I would trade for Dobbs to be my number 2 quarterback. I don't think.
Yeah, those teams could certainly go get a backup, but I don't think they're going to call for Josh Dobbs. They're going to get someone with more NFL experience and probably better tape overall.
You know what changed from a year? From a year ago, everybody's saying, and I obviously didn't have him on my 53. What changed in a year's time has gone from here we are talking about, or here we were talking about Dobbs beating out Landry Jones to, this guy's clearly the number 3.
Yeah, last year in the preseason was the only time Josh Dobbs felt accurate, and he made the big plays. And obviously Landry Jones people didn't really like too much, and you didn't have the feel good story. Dobbs had a 54% completion percentage this year in the preseason. He went 53% in camp. Last year preseason was the only kind of good note, where I think he completed like 67% of his passes. In camp, he completed 55%. His rookie year, he completed 57% in camp. I think his preseason completion percentage was similar. So it's just been a consistent issue with accuracy. And I think, time's kind of not time's running out. He'll make the team, but he's kind of plateaued, and I think he's a number 3.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to running backs. Benny Snell football, not a whole lot of running room for him. 8 carries, 12 yards. He's still making the team, though, right? Is there really a concern there? I know a lot of people are unhappy with his play. I'm not honestly too mad about it.
They got a 4. Not that that's the lone reason alone, him being a draft pick, but we've only seen one time, I think it was Duran Grant, especially in the Tomlin era, that a 4th round pick or higher did not make the 53. When you look at who's behind him, Terrell Edmonds. Is Terrell Edmonds much of an upgrade? Trey. I always want to call it. I always get the brothers mixed up there. Trey Edmonds. Is he a huge upgrade in the running back department? No, not really. Is he an upgrade in the special teams department? I think so. But is that enough? You know? And I guess I wouldn't be overly shocked, but you got a 4th round pick in this guy, and here's the thing with Snell. He looked okay in the short yardage stuff, but boy, some of those offensive lines that he and then look, this is what separates some of your better backs though too, is making these guys miss. That get into the backfield. He obviously didn't look he needs to get in James Conner shape for starters. I think if you start there, giving him a full NFL season underneath his belt and letting him maybe drop a little bit of weight and getting a little bit leaner there, maybe that'll help some. I think the biggest plus with Benny Snell that we saw throughout the preseason, at least for me, was pass protection, which we kind of knew coming out of college. He was more than willing and able to do that. B, the short yardage aspect, which is another thing that statistically showed up for him in college. And the other aspect that we really didn't know too terribly much about was the special teams aspect, and he looks willing and able in that classification. So you're not keeping him with the idea of getting him many, if any, snaps at the start of the year. So, can you carry him and use him on special teams and occasionally short yardage for a while? I think so. So I that's why I would think that Benny Snell sticks over Trey Edmunds.
I agree with everything that you said. As you mentioned, you talk about what Le'Veon Bell did, what James Conner did, what Jalen Samuels doing right now, dropping weight year 1 to year 2. It's pretty predictable for all these big backs. I think that's what Snell's definitely going to do. This upcoming offseason, he'll lose 10 to 15 pounds. You'll have more burst, and we'll get a better evaluation from then, so I'm not going to freak out about it too much. I would be open to the idea of keeping someone like Trey Edmunds, though, but when you have such a roster crunch to other positions, particularly linebacker, which we'll get to here in a little bit, that probably squeezes Edmunds out of his practice squad spot, because you can definitely get him out of his 53-man roster spot, because you can definitely get Edmunds to the practice squad, no problem. So my guess is they're going to carry 3 like usual, and Snell is the number 3.
Yeah, and I would think Edmunds would be your best choice to go to the practice squad as well.
Yeah. 100% chance he gets on there, worst case scenario. Rest of the group, Malik Williams had 2 bad drops. I mean, as I said before, Williams is a good runner. He's pretty poor everywhere else, and that was honest. Trayvon McMillan finished the year with negative rushing yards, so -1 for him. Easy outright cut there.
And Dobbs finished the preseason as a leading rusher as well. So, those other running backs I think are easy cuts. Maybe they go outside, to find a practice squad guy. But I mean, right now, I would think Edmunds would be the odds-on choice here.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go outside. I think Edmunds is going to be the practice squad guy. With the tight ends, man, just feel like there's nothing to ever talk about with a tight end group, and that probably might be a compelling reason as any to bring somebody in. Zach Gentry did play, and so did Christian Scotland-Williamson. Gentry, I think, had 1 or 2 receptions, had a target that resulted in a pick, kind of out-muscled for an interception. Is this team bringing somebody in?
I don't see how they don't, and Kevin Colbert surely didn't. I mean, when interviewed in the pregame interview with Bob Pompiani, he says Grimble is technically our number 2 right now. Why add the technically on there?
Well, I wish the question wasn't asked about, because the question was who's your number 2, and we kind of all know it's Grimble. I wish the question would have been more about behind him, so I didn't love the framing of the question.
True, but I didn't understand why they technically was in there. I mean, I suppose because of the way the question was answered. But I mean, look, Grimble's got a better shot, obviously, to make this roster, I think, than Gentry does. But, Grimble around the league, would he be a legitimate number 2 or a legitimate number 3? I would tend to go more with the number 3 aspect with that. I mean, he does give you some special team stuff and all like that. If anything, he's probably borderline 2-3 kind of guy. The thing with Gentry is, will people be clamoring if you cut him? And I think the answer to that's no.
I agree.
So if that's the case and you can find an upgrade, but I keep going back and trying to remember how was Jesse James during his rookie season, and I don't remember James being that much better. So,
but he didn't play much his rookie year. I think he'd be playing less than what Gentry would have to do as number 3 this year.
Well, possibly, but here's the thing. You're still going to use a lot of tackle eligibles right now, aren't you?
Yeah. definitely against any 4-3 team for sure.
I mean, you're gonna be using those tackle eligibles, so which
But the
I'm
number 3 tight end still probably going to play about 110 snaps minimum, I think, this year, and probably maybe even more.
Here's the thing: if you're gonna play Vance the same, roughly around the same amount of snaps that you did last year, and I broke this down earlier in the offseason, they're still gonna run that 12 and 22 personnel, right? I mean, they're not going to get away from that. Maybe they decrease it a little bit this year, but you got to have, you're probably going to split those snaps between an extra tackle and your third tight end. So however many that ended up being last year, I understand some short yardage situations having a tackle eligible, but boy, you sure do limit yourself, man. I mean, when you do that, as far as having another eligible on the field, long answer short. I mean, what we've talked about all offseason, we expect this team to go out and do something at tight end. So that's what I'm expecting them to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all by it, and I'm fine with the idea. It's just hard to find that name because that tight end market is so slim. And as I said before, is there anybody even worth rostering over Gentry, where you stunt his development a little bit, where he's on the practice squad, he's not getting the reps that's going to help him, this year and going into next year. So like you have to weigh, is the talent you're bringing in good enough to justify cutting Gentry and kind of hurting his development some?
I still think maybe Gentry's upside long term is what just left in James. Okay, how much will it take to get him there? That's the question.
If you're on the practice squad, he's not going to get there as quickly as he would if he's playing.
No, and he's not. He's obviously not a huge special teams asset as far as I can tell in there. I mean, look, they took a shot, at the tight end position. Obviously, I think Foster Moreau would have been a better option maybe, but you obviously I think would have had to get him around earlier there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, we've talked about it all off season, Alex. I mean, I would like to see them go out and get another tight end.
Yeah, I would too. But you still driving the Luke Wilson train? Is that your number one guy?
As far as what I can see out, him or Carrier over there.
Yeah.
Whichever one they don't want, I think would be a good 1-year fit.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they just claim Jordan Leggett again when Tampa Bay cuts him.
Yeah, or that. I mean, I got to admit, I haven't gone. I've watched more Oakland tape, preseason tape, than I have the Tampa Bay stuff there. So, I mean, obviously they showed interest in Leggett trying to claim him. So, I mean, that would be a logical one. They tried to sign O'Shaughnessy, but, I guess the word still is that he'll probably stick. I've seen some roster predictions from the Raiders beat writers, not keeping Luke Wilson. There's a natural connection there with Rice Baby,
I think it's a minor one, though. I don't know if that's going to...
No, I mean, I don't think it influenced, but I mean, it's like, at least you get some, not that it matters. I mean, firsthand knowledge from how he is as a teammate and, all like that from a guy like Vance McDonald. But just overall, top to bottom, I think Luke Wilson is the complement for the kind of tight end that they need, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I could definitely see that. So we'll see if there's one position they're going to add to. Could they add to any other position, or do you think it's going to be tight end or bust? Because I view it's tight end or bust. I don't know what other position.
No, I mean, we talked about safety during, but I mean, it looks like, assuming Sean Davis is going to be fine, and I mean, Kelly over the last several weeks has more than looks like a lock at this point. The only real question at the safety position is what fourth one are you going to keep? Is it going to be Dangerfield or Marcus Allen? I really think that's the only question. You could live with either one of those guys, I think, to prevent you from having to go. I mean, Dangerfield, obviously, I mean, the guy that you're going to would go out and get at safety anyway would have to be special teams capable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in that age range of 25, 24 to 28 or whatever, so I mean, if you got that right there and you're happy with either Dangerfield or Marcus Allen, then you don't make a move that way. So, to me, it's tight end or bust.
I agree. Let's flip to receiver now, and you talk about somebody making that late preseason push. Maybe no one, well, maybe aside from two-star skipper, but Johnny Holton really coming on scene and making those impact plays. And he was targeted twice vertically against Tennessee, couldn't catch either of those, but he made it count against Carolina with 2 receptions, finished with 3 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. This is a guy that I think has a really honest chance to make this roster.
Would you have liked to seen a more complete preseason from him? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been a vertical guy, and that's his calling card.
And that's his MO. That's what he was at Oakland, right?
Yep.
You go deep. But I mean, we did see. At least I thought I saw him play. Multiple positions in the offense. I think push come to shove, he can play the X for you. He obviously can play the Z. He's probably physical enough to dig, like old Richard Mann used to say, go out there and dig out them safeties, in the slot. I mean, obviously you would hope that he wouldn't have to be asked to do that a lot, but I think he could do it. Something that goes back to what we've pretty much written about him on the site ever since the moment he was signed. He's like a younger version of Darius Hayward-Bay. Not flashy, but he can get down the field. I like that double move that he had, last night. I would have liked to see him make a couple of those contested catches, right? In that game against the third preseason game. Trying to think if there was a time or two else that he was targeted that I thought maybe he should have come down for. But let me tell you want to talk about somebody that has a nice special teams resume, and I keep going back to what Mike Tomlin said several weeks ago about Holton when asked about him. He has NFL, what did he say, capable film or tape or he has NFL resume on tape, I think was the exact quote, something along those lines. This is a guy that can wear multiple hats for you. Now, do we expect to see a lot of Johnny Holton on offense if he is indeed kept? No. But I mean, if you need somebody to come in and fill in at one of those positions, and obviously you can throw him out there for the gunner. You can use him on kickoff. You can use him on kickoff return. He can wear a lot of hats, and there's a couple wide receivers on the bottom end of the depth chart that we've been keeping and talking about all off season that don't wear a lot of hats.
Right. Yeah, this is a guy that's made big plays at every step of the way. He averaged over 19 yards a catch in camp. He's averaging whatever the number is this preseason. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's, I'm sure, really impressive. The Steelers always like to kind of keep that toolsy guy on the back end of the roster, whether that's Justin Hunter or Sammy Coates, kind of the big
or Arnaz Battle.
Well, I don't know if Battle was the receiver threat.
He was toolsy, though.
Okay, yeah, maybe you probably have a clear memory of Arnaz Battle. I just remember him being that special teams only kind of dude. But they always kind of keep that athletic vertical threat on the back end of the roster. I think Holton can be right in there. So Switzer's spot I think is locked in.
The Cedric Wilson trying to back into the guy. I'm trying to remember back into the guy wide receivers. DHB was obviously one. Sean Moray.
Okay, I think you're getting way out of the scope of. He was not toolsy at all. He was all grit. But yeah, I think Switzer's locked in.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Holton's not very toolsy other than go deep.
Well, I mean, toolsy in the sense of the athleticism of that kind of height, weight, speed, triangle numbers kind of guy. That's impressive. That's what I'm getting at.
He's go deep and play special teams. That's what he is.
Right, and Justin Hunter was go deep and don't play special teams. Like that was him. So Switzer, I think, is locked in at receiver as your return guy. So the guy who's really got to watch his spot now is Eli Rogers. And I think there's a really good chance that this team decides to keep Johnny Holton over Eli Rogers.
Let's see. Entering last night, he had, was it 0 or 1 special teams snaps? I can't even remember.
Holton or Eli?
Eli.
I think he had 0 because he had his first punt return last night. He didn't have any of the return work prior to that.
I wrote this up yesterday. Let me double check my.
And to be fair, it didn't shock me that he wasn't getting a lot of return work because you wanted to get the other guys. Like you kind of know what you have with Eli, but his value's limited on special teams.
I would have thought he would have had another return or two somewhere in there.
No, last night was his first.
And no, I'm saying I would have thought that he would have.
Oh, okay.
Not that I thought he did. Let me see here. Where is my numbers here? Boy, we move fast on this site, don't we? We put up
Mm-hmm.
content and it goes to the second page. Okay, that's the initial 53-man roster. Where is the? I can't find my snap counts. Where are my snap counts? Do you remember?
From the Panthers game?
From the preseason, the one that I put up yesterday. Okay, noteworthy. Here they are. Eli Rogers had 0 special team snaps going into last night, and last night he had the 1 punt return. I think. Let me double check those numbers real quick here.
They should just have the one, but it's all he had was the one punt return.
The one. He played 16 offensive snaps and 1 special team. So 1 special team snap. I mean, he's not going to give you anything else other than a punt returner on special teams.
Right. See, I'm not surprised by that number, obviously. It's not as important to him as it is to some other guys.
No, but the point I was making is I thought he would have got him another punt return or 2 throughout the preseason.
Yeah, well, I guess I want to take a long look at Deontay Spencer. You only get so many punt returns. Deontay Johnson getting some work in there, too. Again, I think you just kind of know what you have in Eli, so you didn't have to get him a whole lot of work. But again, just because Holden can be that unique threat, obviously a very different guy than Eli Rogers, you do have, while there are some differences, you do have some slot receiver type guys in Switzer and Deontay Johnson, not necessarily a slot guy, but a similar mold as Eli Rogers. Eli could be the, if you want to talk about trading anybody outside this organization just to another team, it'd be Eli Rogers. I don't know, that's your number one guy that would have any sort of trade value.
Yeah, maybe you can deal him for the tight end or something.
Yeah.
It feels like, and I've been looking for that reason all off season, but going into this game, I still, thank goodness Holton gave me more of a reason to pull the trigger. I was high on him at the start of the preseason, and then I cooled off on Holton, and then the finale, I finally got the reason. And the sheer fact of the way they used Switzer in that 3rd preseason game leads you to believe that he's going to be the returner again. I mean, they're not going to turn that over to Deontay Johnson, at least not right out of the chute. They're not. Rogers wasn't ever a candidate for that. And, Holton is more of a, break glass in case of emergency, I think, in that situation there. So I've been looking for a reason to get rid of one of these guys, and I think I got it last night there. So that said, are you betting the house that Holton's on the 53?
No, I wouldn't bet the house, but like I said, there's just a pretty good chance. I said prior to Thursday's game that Holton and Deontay Spencer have to do something compelling to make themselves almost uncuttable. And Spencer clearly did not do that, but Holton certainly did do that. He put himself in that conversation of, doing something that really sticks out. So that's the way I look at it.
And he's done it throughout the preseason on playing some gunner. I thought Holton was good, and you go back and you look at his resume from the Raiders. And I think I wrote this up and talked about it on one of the podcasts. He was their leading special teams tackler for I think those first couple of seasons there. I think one year he even had something like 11 total.
Wow.
So he can get down the field. Now the question is if he dresses, if you keep him he's dressing. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would think he's going to be one of your gunners, right?
Yeah, Deontay Johnson's going to sit to start the year.
And, I know Lane got a lot of burn. I think they just probably wanted to just take a good look at Lane as a gunner throughout the preseason there, because I kind of feel like they knew right out of the chute what they had in Holton maybe as a gunner off of tape. So I think that's why you saw Lane get along kind of an extended look. Lane played a lot of snaps going into last night,
which is good.
And he obviously needed them. A lot of special teams burn as well. In fact, I think, was he the leading special teams getter going? Let's see. He had played 42 special team snaps.
Well,
going into last night's game, 54.5%. He was the leader going into last night's game as far as special team snaps went.
Yeah, well, hey, he needs as much work as possible. You knew he was making the team, and you knew if he was going to play at all this year, was going to be on special teams. So you had to get him as much work there as possible. But yeah, Holton would be a gunner, backup kick coverage guy, or kick return guy can cover kicks. He had a kick return or kick coverage tackle last night. He had that long catch, the touchdown. The ensuing kickoff, he makes a tackle. So like, that's good conditioning, speed. I think he slides in that role really, really well.
There's no way that Spencer makes his 53, correct?
No, no, he's out. I mean,
Right.
they didn't even give him a chance last night. So Switzer's your guy.
I think, Tevin Jones shows up a little bit on special teams every now and then. I think potentially if you do keep if Holton's on your 53 and you do decide to keep another wide receiver on the practice squad, I like Tevin Jones' chances of being that guy.
Yep, I've always had Tevin Jones as the next man on my practice squad. Trey Griffey did have a tackle last night. I think Jones is going to give you a little more as a receiver. Could go either way, but I'm going Tevin Jones.
All right. I think the biggest question now with that group is, do they want to keep 6? And if they do keep 6, is number 6 Holton or Rodgers?
Yeah, I think they're keeping 6. It could still be Eli, but I'm leaning towards Holton right now. I think it's your deepest position. You're going to run 4 receiver sets. There's enough of different skill sets that each of these guys have that I think you do want to keep 6. All right, let's go to the offensive line now, and they were bad, and that's kind of the short and sweet answer to that. I'm not surprised, though. It's a lot of young guys on the road, short week, barely got a chance to practice. Like one practice, a travel day, a walkthrough, and that's it. It's not a surprise to see this generally young group that maybe a lot of guys hadn't played a ton of football, play a lot of snaps. But Gerald Hawkins, Derwin Gray, Zach Banner didn't have his best game. At one point, there were 3 straight holding calls to almost put you in 1st and 40. So that just kind of sums up how terrible the day was.
Yeah, the best part about the offensive line Thursday night was that none of the starters played.
Mm-hmm. Honestly.
Tomlin talked about not leaning or, seeing those that lean in at the tape, and there were several on that offensive line that didn't do that. And there was guys in the backfield all night, and pressure obviously on Hodges late as well. Not a great showing, and I guess the question becomes now. This team has a longish. It's not unthinkable for them not to carry 9 offensive line in total. But if you want to try to make room for one you-know-who person, you would think that that's the area that you would have to cut from. And while Fred Johnson did do a lot of good things, he did some bad things along the way too. He's obviously not NFL starter or dressable, I don't think, right out of the chute. Even obviously if the Steelers do keep him as number 9, he's not going to dress anyway. Mm-hmm. So the question becomes, is this a guy, is he part of the best 53 total? And after going back through last night in the game against Tennessee, I can't say that's the case. I was higher on him at the start of things. I hope he sticks around. I'd like to see him maybe potentially develop. But hey, Chris Hubbard, didn't he start on the practice squad? Originally, didn't Matt Filer? Several of these guys end up going that route, and it's okay. The biggest question is how comfortable will the Steelers be at carrying a number lower than 9? That, to me, that's the only question at this point is, will they carry 9 or will they carry 8? And I think if they carry 8, then that means Fred Johnson's the odd man out, and then hopefully you can obviously get him signed to your practice squad.
Yeah, history says they keep 9. They've only kept 8. I think mostly whenever there's been a major injury to the offensive line. Pouncey de Castro, I think Matthew Marksy pointed that out last night. I think there was one other instance where they were healthy and kept 8. I don't remember the combination for that year. Yeah, they generally like to keep their offensive line depth, but you're right. If you're going to fit guys like Gilbert and Skipper and all them onto your 53, it's hard to do that without carrying 8 offensive linemen.
It is. I mean,
It's almost impossible. Really,
we're else. I mean, we're obviously about to get to those positions and all, but I mean, you can make a great argument if it wouldn't buck history as well too of only carrying two quarterbacks and putting Hodges. I mean, you can make a great argument this year of only carrying two quarterbacks on the 53 and then carrying Hodges as your third. But I mean, it's just something they don't do. And our job, or what I try to do, is make this thing as believable as possible what I think they would do with my 53. If it was what would Dave do, my 53 might look about two players different, maybe, but I mean, overall, you can make an argument, but you just don't see him not carrying three quarterbacks. You don't see him not carrying at least four total running backs when you include Nix in that pile. I mean, I suppose you could make an argument of five wide receivers, but other than, here's the thing too, when they do go heavy, one heavy player on defense, then it's usually at the expense of one player on offense. And the only times they've gone lopsided under Mike Tomlin have all been heavy, one on defense, meaning 26 versus 24. Okay. So you would think...
So it's always been at least 25-25 or 26-24 in favor of the defense. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, under Tomlin.
Okay. That's interesting. Gotcha.
So... Look, I've we might as well move on. I toyed with this in my head since halftime last night of which way to go with this. So what position? You want to go ahead and go straight to linebacker now?
Well, let's do the defensive line quickly. I thought Isaiah Buggs had a nice game, kind of a good bounce back after struggling versus Tennessee. Henry Mondo got some pressure. I think he's going to be your practice squad guy. I think the rest of the group is pretty much unchanged.
Yeah, it's been this way for me. Since my pre-training camp 53, and it was good to see Buggs be able to get back in the groove there, so to speak, because I thought he was, wasn't he banged up a little bit in that game against Tennessee? So he's going to be inactive anyway, and they're going to carry. I mean, history says they carry 6 at a minimum. I know they've carried 7 before, but I think 6 is a number, and I think Mondo is the guy that goes to the practice squad for you.
Yep, I agree. Okay, buckle up. Here's the big discussion. Linebacker. We might as well just talk about linebacker as a whole, not even try to break it down into outside versus inside. You had Ulysses Gilbert III block that field goal, which felt very reminiscent of Roosevelt Nix against Carolina in 2015, blocking that punt to kind of cement his spots. Once that happened, we thought, okay, UG3's making it. Then our skipper goes off with 2 more sacks, finishes with 5 sacks on the preseason, 2 forced fumbles, most by a Steeler defender since at least 2006, as far back as the stats go. How do you keep them all? Do you keep them all, and if so, how do you do it?
Look, I wrestled with this. Here's the thing that I kept. Here's one thing. Bless his heart, he finally got to play some special teams, but. I don't know what you counted. I counted 5 special team snaps Thursday night, with all 5 being on the kickoff coverage team. Okay? Why wasn't he given any punt coverage special team snaps? I mean, you already know, heck, you played, going into this game, UG3 had played 35 total special team snaps. And Spillane had played 34. You had a good idea what those guys are, at least I thought, in special teams aspects going into this game. Why wouldn't you at least give, a guy like Skipper the full load? That's the only. My whole analysis of last night's game comes down to that one question and that one question alone. Now, Skipper, when he was out there on kickoff team, he showed up in a box score. I don't know what else.
2 tackles.
I don't know what else you want the guy to do. Right. Here's the thing that I keep going back to. Mike Tomlin always preaches, lean in at the tape. Give us what you got in this final game. Blah blah blah. With what this guy did during the preseason, and yeah, he beat some guys that are gonna be moving furniture soon, but that's not his fault. How can you ever motivate a team down the road going into a fourth preseason game if you don't somehow find a way to put this guy on the 53? That's plain and simple. That's what it came down to me.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, if guy's done literally everything you can ask him to do and pass with flying colors,
and he would have done more.
Yeah, right. And I do wonder why I was on the punt team. Maybe it was a short week, didn't get the reps there. But I'm just happy he got some special teams work and he performed well. Like, I think that's enough to tell this team that yes, he can do this and he can make an impact on special teams as well. So we agree that he deserves to be on the 53. Now, how do you get him there?
I think but goes back to the whole offensive lineman or wide receiver. I think either you carry 8 or you carry 5 wide receivers, or I don't know what Ola. I mean, none of us know what Ola's status is, but even so, if you're going to move Ola to designated to return, you got to carry him on the first 53.
Mm-hmm. But you probably wouldn't cut Skipper even if you did that. You would probably cut a vet, because didn't they do that with Nat Burhay last year, where they cut him and brought him back? You would cut a guy that wouldn't be exposed to waivers.
Well, they're all going to be.
Are they all? Aren't the veterans not exposed to waivers?
I think they're all. I'll have to go back and check. I thought they were all exposed here.
Well, they did that with Nat Burhay last year, right, to get Ola on the IR. I mean, let me double check this transaction. So I don't think you'd have to make a cut. Obviously, you have to carry the guy to the 53, whether that's Ola or Justin Lane. But you probably wouldn't cut Skipper. I think you would cut a veteran, like a Dangerfield is kind of what I have in mind.
Well, the whole reason, you're keeping him is because there would probably be part of you that is concerned that maybe he wasn't clear.
Yeah. Well, sure. But even in the process of cutting, sending someone IR to return, I don't think you would be cutting Skipper to do that and then bringing Skipper back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Let me see what these transactions look like from last year here.
Yeah, on September 1st last year, they terminated vested veterans Landry Jones and Nat Burhay, released everybody else, exposing everyone else to waivers, and then on September 3rd, they re-signed Burhay, and then that's when they put Ola on reserve, to return list. So that's how they did it.
I got 9-1 from the NFL right here. Hold on a minute here, and I'll find out what.
I don't know. What are you looking up?
I just want to see if he. Hold on a minute here. Crap. I want to see what the official transaction on the NFL site was here with him.
With Burhay last year?
Right.
Yeah. I think that's the way that you. And again, I don't know if the injuries are even serious enough to warrant that. Obviously, Lane, we're pretty much in the dark on. Adeney, we didn't think it would be.
He was. I'm looking at the sheet right now. It was a terminated and not a waiver request on Burhay, so it would have to be a vested guy.
Is Dangerfield vested? I'm not sure, because I think he is still practice squad eligible, so I don't know if that means he's not vested. But I don't think he'd get claimed. I don't think Dangerfield would get claimed. So I'd be, that's the way that you would probably do it. If you needed to do it that way, where you wouldn't cut Skipper, you would, carry Skipper initially, so you would have 11. Well, no, you'd have 10 linebackers still, but you would be cutting a veteran to make it work and then bring him back.
Your terminated guys last year were contract terminated guys last year were Burry, Landry, Jones, and Fitzgerald Toussaint. The rest of the guys had to clear waivers.
Right. Okay.
So I suppose it would be, let's see, who else? Dangerfield might fit that classification. I don't remember if he's got enough time or not.
Yeah, but even if he doesn't, I don't think he's getting claimed. I don't think anyone's claiming Jordan Dangerfield at this point.
But I mean, this all goes back to the fact that is Ola going,
right?
Does he need to go to IR? Which there's really been no sign of that. All right, back to the core group though. I mean,
True or false? To keep 10 linebackers, you got to keep 8 offensive linemen. You have to cut Fred Johnson.
That's the most likeliest.
Okay. So yeah, then it comes down to Fred Johnson versus Kozora Skipper. And you talk about, the war again. Chances of anyone getting claimed are slim. But if you're actually, I'm almost in a sense more worried about Fred Johnson getting claimed, just because, as you mentioned earlier, top of the show, look at all these offensive linemen getting traded around. Like that's the hot group because it's such a scarce position. There are so few guys. There are so few good offensive linemen in the league. Everybody needs an offensive lineman. Everyone's looking to round out depth, and a lot more so than pass rushers. So everyone's got a pass rusher. Not many teams have good depth along the offensive line.
Boy, Cincinnati could use.
I mean, yeah, you could do.
New England could use.
Well, they're hoarding linemen. They just traded for 2 of them. I mean, it's been 3 or 4 linemen traded in the last 48 hours, and there might be more coming. I mean, that's. I think we had a Reader Falcon safety do the legwork last year, and I think linemen tied with DBs for 11 guys being claimed off waivers. That was the top 2 positions. So everyone needs DBs. Everyone needs linemen. No one needs a pass rusher. I'm not saying to cut him. I'm just saying that there's a risk with Johnson. I don't try to worry about exposing guys to waivers too much there, but there could certainly be a risk there. Or if you get Johnson there, you probably have to do either a BJ Finney or you're paying him a roster money for a practice squad spot, or you're gonna have to make a call up mid-season because someone's probably gonna come calling for that guy.
You would definitely, even if you got, and I'm still not ruling out the possibility of a guy like Skipper clearing waivers and going to the practice squad. Man, I'm not completely ruling that out. The biggest aspect when it comes to quote unquote poaching is what we talked about, the old week 6, 7 frame. When you got teams that are already starting to look ahead, that's when that kind of stuff happens. And you would have to try to entice a player to give him a full paragraph 5 salary to keep him on your practice squad, and obviously a guy like Skipper would be in a lot more in demand than a guy like, say, a Keon Adams was, last year when the Steelers had to pay him a full salary to keep him. And, they turn around and just cut him anyway, this offseason and all. But I would think that offensive line would be the position that you trim from. Other than the only other one I could see would be wide receiver, but I think you need that special teams aspect of what a Johnny Holton gives you. Now here's the thing. You lost L.J. Fort during the offseason. He was one of your core special teams guys. All right, he's gone. Matakevich returns. Chiclo returns. You would think that both those guys are going to stick. I could not find a way to think that the Steelers would kick them off.
I agree.
And UG3 is more than, you want to talk about a guy that can get downfield on a punt coverage team? That guy can do it, Yeah. So you would think that there's no way in hell that UG3 does not make, and plus he played pretty damn good snaps at linebacker too. You would think there's no way that guy doesn't make the 53. I would rank him. As far as probability, UG3 at probably 98% chance that he makes the 53. Yeah. Skipper, I would have 89.
You're getting specific.
90. Obviously lower than UG3. And
what is Fred Johnson's chances to make it? Because it sounds like you're saying Fred Johnson's got like a 10% chance to make it.
I just think that he dropped off a little bit there. I feel more confident, I guess, about him making it to the practice squad than I would. And normally I'm not that guy. But it goes back to once again, how can you not put Skipper on there with what he did, with what you ask your guys to do every year going into that 4th preseason game? I think it goes back to that and that alone as far as the decision on him. Will I be surprised if he doesn't make it? If he doesn't make the 53 and he clears waivers to the practice squad, it's all special teams related.
Yep. Yeah. And it's just general roster construction because I think this would be the first time they've ever kept 10 linebackers and 8 offensive linemen. That's what you said, right? Is that accurate?
They have never under Tomlin heading into week 1 now.
Yeah.
Mind
That's what I mean.
They have never had the combination of 8 offensive linemen and 10 outside linebackers. But I mean, that's just an. I mean, it
doesn't mean a whole lot. It doesn't drive a decision today.
It's fun to look at. It's fun. It's fun to recite, but it doesn't mean a damn thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, and I think Skipper, in terms of just who's been the better player to earn a spot on the 53, it's Kozora Skipper way above Fred Johnson. I've been cooling off on Fred Johnson for the last couple weeks now, saying this guy's he's going to be the number 9 if it's a number 9, but, there may not be a number 9. And so, in terms of performance, Skipper's been a lot better than Fred Johnson. But then you just look at, the value that you have in offensive linemen, keeping the depth there, making sure you don't lose Fred Johnson, and just kind of the way Steelers generally build their roster. That's where it calls into question. I don't know what I'm going to do. I haven't had a roster prediction yet. It's going to go up Saturday morning. Gilbert's almost certainly going to be on there. Skipper, I'm going to try to make it work, but that's the one everyone's going to be wrestling with.
Let me tell you, the only reason he's on there on mine goes back to the fact of what more could you ask for the guy to do?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it would make everything Tomlin kind of talks about during the training camp and the preseason up until this point kind of thrown out the window if you don't put him on there.
Right.
If you would have asked him to play punt coverage team, he would have played punt coverage team.
Mm-hmm.
He did play. You can't really look at his 3 special team snaps ahead of last night because to me that was more of we don't have Chickalo, we need a guy to go out there on the punt return team. That's not what that's not what you would probably want him to do anyway. If you kept him for special teams purposes, I would think be more along the lines of an Arthur Moats. Heck, Arthur Moats played special teams his final year, right?
Yep.
And I think Skipper at this point of his career versus where Arthur Moats was at his point of career would potentially be the better special teams player,
Mm-hmm.
So it all went back to me up until this morning of going over and thinking, man, what didn't this guy do that he was asked of? And I think you still have to put context on his sacks, but it's not his fault.
Yeah.
You can only beat the guy that you line up against. So, will I be surprised if he doesn't make it? No. And if he does clear waivers, I won't be surprised either. But it constantly goes back to me with Mike Tomlin and talking about guys showing up in that, leaning into the tape in that preseason finale. I thought he did that.
No, I agree. I mean, Tomlin's mantra is everybody has a chance. Everyone's going to be given an opportunity. And if Skipper didn't do well enough to earn a roster spot, then what message does that send? And that runs counter to everything Tomlin said. What more could this guy have done to earn a roster spot? So I agree. I just, saying Skipper deserves to make it is easy enough. I think that's a pretty easy and fair statement to say. It is more difficult to say whose roster spot does he take. I think that's the part we just have to keep in context.
Is there anything that would lead you to believe that either Dirty Red or Chickalo does wind up not making this 53?
No, nothing that I'm aware of. Too valuable on special teams. And Chick's going to still be your number 3 to start. Like, Skipper is not going to be probably active to start, and he's certainly not going to be your number 3 outside linebacker to start.
I have him on my 53, but inactive there. So,
All right, we'll see. That'll be the big one. Obviously, he's the Josh Dobbs of this year, where it's like he's earned it. Let's see if he can bump off somebody.
That's got to be. I would think I would think that there's 3 kind of toughish decisions. I think the whole Fred Johnson, Kozora Skipper, and then maybe the 4 maybe the Holton and Eli Rogers, and then the either or with Dangerfield and Marcus Allen.
Mm-hmm. And let's go there now because corners they're locked in. There's nothing to talk about really with that group, other than Justin Lane's pending health. Safety is the thing, and so yeah, it comes down to Kim Kelly's a lock. I mean, 100% in. He's going to play a good bit this year. Yeah, it's Dangerfield versus Allen. You went Dangerfield in your 53. Why did you go him over Marcus Allen?
Just more reliable. Just more reliable, top to bottom. Boy, Allen in that poor angle right there at the beginning of that game on that early pass over the middle there, it makes you kind of wince a little bit there. Look, when he gets on you, he's a good tackler, but the angles just weren't the best. I just feel like Danny Smith might be pounding the table more for a guy like Jordan Dangerfield than Marcus Allen. So that's what it came down to.
Does it matter at all that for the second straight week Allen started over Dangerfield? Does that do anything?
Nah, I think that's more lines that, okay, here's your chance,
Okay. Yeah.
I view it like Dobbs starting. What did we read anything into Dobbs starting? I didn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. No, I agree. I think it's more about what you do with your snaps than where you're getting your snaps. The way that Holton didn't come in till after, but made the plays. So I just wanted to play devil's advocate there.
And as far as cornerback, I mean, I cannot not see him keeping 6 in those 6. As long as everybody's healthy and assuming Lane doesn't have to go to IR or something like that. That's the only way. And look, maybe you could carve out. I mean, if you didn't keep 6, let's say you kept Lane, and then for some odd reason you had to move him to IR. Do you have enough that could you enter the season with just 9 in total, 9 defensive backs?
Yeah, I think it was because I think the versatility is a lot better this year, like a Cam Cowley, like a Cam Sutton, a Mike Hilton. So assuming Davis is okay, then yeah, I think you can do 9.
I think that might be the only other way to create maybe a spot for Skipper is if a guy like Lane had to go to IR.
Yeah, I think the bottom line, to go back to that briefly, is the way you get Skipper there, 2 main ways. Someone goes to IR to return, or you keep 8 offensive linemen. Like, those are the 2 ways that I see Skipper being kept to get him on the roster. Is that fair?
Yeah.
The 2 most likely ways, yeah. And then with Dangerfield, the reason I think you keep Dangerfield over, if you're not going to keep Trey Edmonds on your 53, then I think you really have a strong reason to keep Dangerfield because he's going to be your PP on your punt team, which is the personal protector, the quarterback of that unit. It's either Edmonds or Dangerfield. Those are the 2 guys that have done it. If you're not keeping Edmonds, then you should probably keep Dangerfield.
Yep. Danny, I like I said, and make no mistake about it, I think Danny Smith. Will Danny Smith be pounding the table for Kozora, though? Normally those 52nd, 53rd spots you would think go down to, okay, what does the special teams coordinator say? Or is it going to be a case where, Tomlin and Colbert say you're just going to have to work around Kozora being on this roster?
Yeah, I think at some point, Tomlin has final say. And I even if Danny Smith's not pounding the table for him, and I have no idea if he is or isn't, I think Tomlin's going to be like, this guy's done well enough to stick.
Yeah, you work around this. So
yeah. Man, the fact he did made 2 tackles in his 8 special team snaps this year, which 5 were coverage. He made 2 tackles, like pretty good number. It's a 400 batting average, 2 over 5.
Yeah, and I think one time they even tried to maybe not put him on a special teams. And didn't Spillane have get walked off? And then when Spillane got walked off, I think Kozora came on.
Oh, really?
To his, so it's almost like I took it as they tried to give him one less special team snap.
It has been the weirdest thing, this team's refusal to play him on special teams. Really, really strange.
Like I said, that's my biggest question coming out of last night's game was, what would it have hurt to put him on the punt coverage team?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just a lack of reps because it was a short week, but I don't know why it wasn't happening before either.
Even if it was lack of reps, you know what? I give him a quick schooling. I draw it up real quick on the whiteboard for him. All right. And then let him get after it. I mean, he deserved that aspect of it. Yeah. But once again, I caution everybody, if he does not make the 53, it's going to be because of the special teams aspect. Because, I mean, he obviously did everything you want him to do and more on the defensive side of the ball for the guys he went up against.
Exactly. Specialists, everything locked in. Well, kickers locked in. Boswell didn't even kick last night. Kennedy didn't even long snap. Ian Behrman had a good game. I should have put him on my winners list. I left his name out. I had some good directional punting. I think it's too little, too late though for Behrman.
Yeah, I had no good reason to not keep Barry.
Yeah, yeah. But and that's there. Kick return, punt return is going to be Switzer. Gunners already with either Holton or maybe Sutton. We'll kind of see who the opposite guy is, but that's the group. I mean, so what names are up in the air? What guys do you believe are like squarely on the bubble where it could go either way?
Well, I think the Holton versus Rodgers.
Okay.
I think it's
Fred
Johnson versus Tuzar Skipper.
Okay, so that's 4.
I think it's Dangerfield versus Allen.
Yeah. And that's it.
And
that it?
I think that might be it, right?
So that's 6 guys fighting for 3 spots. That's kind of what this thing's coming down to. Yeah. Which, I mean, that's usually how it goes. So I think you have it set.
I just can't visualize anything other. If I miss it, it's going to be here's the thing. Will the initial 53 be different than the week 1 53? Will the Saturday at 4:00 53 be different than the kickoff 53?
Yeah. That's a good question. I mean, historically the answer is yes. Usually there is a change, a claim, a trade, a IR guy. So I mean, I guess the easy answer is yes, but I don't know how that would look. It'd have to be the tight end or someone going to IR.
Well, Eli Rogers, what Eli on Twitter early on saying, I'm not getting cut or something like that. Wasn't he the one that showed up at training camp, the grand entrance, if you will?
Oh, you're still talking about that, Dave?
Yeah, I am. Look, I mean, I've been an Eli Rogers fan since day one. It sucks that his career got off to an injury start there. He's a great route runner. We saw him after the catch yesterday, and that's something that really hasn't been something he's been great at. Is yak stuff, and Switzer had his patented route last night. But I mean, that's what he's good at. I mean, if you're going to be good at something, be great at it. And that's the
5 yard out is
the 3 to 5 yard out. That's what he's good at. I mean, and he obviously is reliable in the aspect of the return aspect, and that's going to play a part in this, I think, as well too. How much do you buy into the Ben Roethlisberger likes him? The relationship thing.
It means little to me. That's not the reason why you're keeping him. You're keeping him for all the reasons you just mentioned.
Yeah. But all that said, I mean, I think that's where we're at on this. I would think that if the roster changes between Saturday to the following, Sunday, it's the tight end position.
Yeah, I agree. And, we'll see if they can work out a trade beforehand. If not, it could be a cut downs. I think there you go. I think we outlined 7 names, including Gentry in that, of guys that are right on the bubble.
And we'll obviously discuss this a little bit more after we finally know what the roster is. But, what do you think about the composition of this team right now?
I think it's good. I think the defense is faster, more flexible, more experienced. I think a lot of guys on offense have stepped up. Obviously, offense could still take a step back from last year just because, of course, it's reasonable to assume that when you lose a guy of Antonio Brown's caliber. But team's healthy. They're flexible, got some good work, a lot of good reps in. I mean, it's hard to be mad about how this preseason's gone.
Yeah, and regardless of how what we think is final 3 questionable decisions shake out, they seem to be healthy, and that's key. Because in any like an injury at offensive line could really impact this 53 initially. Obviously Haden had that scare, and it seems like he was is going to be fine off that. We'll see about Sean Davis, but the early word on that is good. Chicolo, with the chest. I mean, he obviously didn't play in the last 2 games, but I kind of took that as precautionary. What are you doing with Vince? I mean, is Vince going to play much special teams for you?
I think you might put him back on if he's going to be a base-only kind of guy. Yeah, you might. Some kick coverage, punt coverage.
So that's something interesting. I mean, obviously, I don't think you're going to put Barron on there. What'd you think about Bush playing 30 snaps last night?
That was dumb. I don't know why they did it. I wouldn't even play him, but I don't know why they played him into the second quarter.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin just said he needed more work. I mean, I'm not as been out of shape as you are. Obviously, I would have been if he'd been injured. It'd been a result biased thing with him. I understand it. Maybe 30. Maybe it was a series too long. Maybe you tempt and fade at that point. What guys surprised you the most throughout the preseason?
Oh, well, I think Tuzar's obviously at the top of the list just for how good it's been. Like, he flashed in camp, but you never expect a 5-sack, 2 forced fumble, preseason from him. I just the guys we've talked about, Gilbert III, Holton coming on strong at the end, has been nice. Zach Banner, I think, has been consistently good, and I'm really happy with him getting his weight down and everything like that. I mean, yeah, the stuff we're talking about are like the equivalent of, first world problems. We're talking about keeping a 6th receiver versus a 9th offensive lineman versus a 10th linebacker versus a 4th safety. Like, those are all pretty good problems to have, all things considered, for a football team this time of year. The last thing real quick I want to throw at you, if Sean Davis is healthy, is there any chance they keep 3 safeties, only 3 safeties instead, as a way to get this roster to work with your linebackers and your linemen, because Hilton can play safety?
Well, once again, who's going to be your personal protector?
Yeah, but to be fair, to counter against my own self, I think it was last year or 2 years ago they had someone as the PP that hadn't done it at all in the preseason. I forget if that was Dangerfield or what, or maybe it was Burhay. But it has happened before.
I suppose with that, Mike Tomlin's talked a lot about making your 53-60, right?
Mm-hmm. And Hilton, in theory, I mean, Kelly's kind of a free safety. Hilton's a free safety who should back up strong safety. Kelly maybe would slide over, but I think that's very, very low odds because of Davis' health, and he may not be 100%. But that was my other thought of how you do it.
I would have more. I would lean more to that possibility if I knew what the medical reports on Davis were.
Same. I think it's a lot more likely they keep 8 offensive linemen than they keep just 3 safeties.
Right.
But I wanted to throw that out there, take a temperature.
Right.
All right. Anything else with the 53?
I think everybody should have an idea of where I'm at on it now. I mean, I gotta admit, I wrestled with the whole Johnson. The thing I wrestled with the most was the Johnson skipper thing. Even
more so than Holton and Eli?
Yes.
Okay.
And just because of the sheer fact that Eli doesn't give you any. It has seemed redundant with Rodgers and Switzer for a while, and I was looking for a reason, and I felt that Holton gave me that reason Thursday night.
So let me play a really rapid-fire, arbitrary numbers game for you of the odds that these guys make the roster, of guys that you have on your roster. The odds, Tuzar Skipper makes the roster, you said 90%?
89.
89, okay. I didn't mean to... okay, 90 versus 89. Johnny Holton making the roster. What's the percentage? I mean, I would assume it's higher than 50 because you got him on there.
78.
Okay, 78. You're just gonna pick Steelers Super Bowl winning years. Jordan Dangerfield. Jordan Dangerfield makes the roster.
82.
82. Was Bradshaw? Bradshaw was still starting at 82, wasn't he? Fred Johnson making you have not making the roster, so what are the odds Fred Johnson does make it? I assume it's below 50%.
Yeah, I still think it's higher. I mean, the math doesn't work out, but I think it's a higher chance than 50%.
Okay, so what percentage would you put on it?
I'd put 70 to 75.
That's pretty high.
Just because I think it's still a possibility. I mean, because I got to admit, I wrestled with that, Alex. I mean,
sure.
So if that's the one I'd wrestled with, I would have wrestled with it less had Skipper played more on special teams, on punt coverage. I would have wrestled with it less.
Okay.
I just have this thing in my back of my mind about keep Butler saying the only way Ola's going to make this team is by being a special teams contributor.
Mm-hmm.
You keep going back to that, and then you look at his total. He played 8 total special team snaps in 4 preseason games. That's the only thing that gives me pause.
He'd be the first rookie linebacker to ever make a team playing 8 special team snaps in an entire preseason. Last one, Zach Gentry.
What was that again?
I said Skipper would be the first rookie linebacker ever to make a team playing 8 special team snaps in an entire preseason.
Is that true?
No, I mean, I'm speculating, but I can't imagine there are too many guys that have played less and made it.
Let me throw something at you. If Skipper does not make the 53, does he clear waivers?
I say yes. I know that's an unpopular answer, but history says it'll be yes.
I say yes too. Does Fred Johnson clear waivers?
Again, unpopular answer. I think the answer is yes, because the answer is going to be low for anybody. But I honestly have more worry about Fred Johnson than I do Kozora Skipper. Just because of the nature of the position and the scarcity of finding offensive linemen, how everybody needs offensive linemen.
All right, fair enough. Look, it's good that we have. It's good that it's not so cut and dry, right?
It's good for us. It's good for business. Yeah, and it's a good problem to have for a team because you have a lot of talent and you have tough decisions to be made. It means you're healthy. It means you have some good talent. So, last one.
Which way are you leaning on the 53? You're gonna keep it a surprise.
I think I've kind of made it. I think I've kind of tipped my hand here a little bit. I'm leaning Skipper. I just gotta make sure I'm comfortable with finding how to get him on there. But you'll see that Saturday morning. Last one I want to ask you really quickly: Zach Gentry odds of making the 53, and this is versus the field, not just internally.
50-50.
Yeah, I think it is a coin flip.
Once again, I'm not going to be shocked if the Saturday night 53 is different than the team the 53 that travels travels to New England here. Here's a little quick fun. My post draft edition 53-man roster. I still have the same quarterbacks. I still have the same running backs, fullback. I had Eli Rogers and Ryan Switzer both as making out the 6 wide receivers there. I obviously don't have Rogers on my final 53. My tight ends are the same. I had Hawkins. I had good old Gerald Hawkins as number 9. Now, obviously, if there was no Fred Johnson, I would have no problem cutting Gerald Hawkins to make room for Kozora Skipper there. But I did have Banner on there, but I had Hawkins over. I had Hawkins as 1 and 9 on there. The defensive linemen have not changed for me. The inside linebackers surprisingly have not changed for me. I went through that Ulysses on, Ulysses off, but I had Ulysses on my original 5. I had the original 4 outside linebackers, but I obviously did not have Skipper on that. I was toyed with Ken Sutton-Smith be part of the 10. That obviously ended up not being the case. The 6 cornerbacks I had the same, and my 4 safeties, you'll get a kick out of this: Sean Davis, Terrell Edmonds, Marcus Allen, and P.J. Locke III.
Hey, P.J. Locke. He came in a couple tackles last night. I had Jack Tocho as my safety spot. Remember Jack Tocho for a hot second.
Oh, that will be who is Jack Tocho? Yeah. Jeopardy Steelers question there. And I had the 3 specialists there. So obviously, I mean, I think all this goes to show is that barring injury, you could probably pencil in a good 45 right off the go.
Yeah, maybe even higher than that, 47.
45 to 47, barring injuries, and be correct. But I mean, that's why you have what we just had happen through 4 preseason games and a training camp and all. So I got a kick out of going back and looking at that.
All right, that's the 53-man roster prediction. Obviously, Saturday is the cut down day. One other story I wanted to talk about really quickly, then we'll get to some reader emails. Joe Haden, Kevin Colbert asked about contract extension with Joe Haden. Still seemed optimistic about it, but nothing done yet. Obviously, time is starting to run out. Still think it's going to get done?
Yes, I will be shocked if it does not.
I do. And deadline spur action, they're going to get it done.
I've been in the shocked category that it would not happen for quite a while with him. In so many words, Colbert says both sides want to get done. We think maybe there's a chance something gets done. Yada yada. The only question now is, and really it hasn't seemingly been a question for a couple weeks now, is it just does not look like Hargrave's going to get done. Here's the one thing too about cutting Rodgers. You do lose. You have that signing bonus get, what was it, $500,000, I think. I mean, obviously that gets split up. I mean, you can obviously stomach that. You're not making a lot of these decisions because of salary cap related stuff anyway. When it comes to that, but it was, it saved you a little bit of money there that way. They're going to have to do something with the cap, because technically when you look at a 52nd, 53rd guy on the roster, and you look at the practice squad and all like that, they'd like to go into the regular season with around $5 million in excess room. They're going to have to do something to make that happen. So the logical thing to make that happen is to get yourself about $3 million with a Joe Haden extension. All the numbers that I've written and talked about with Joe Haden and the length and everything, I still think that ends up being the way that you go with Joe Haden there. For a long time, I was 50-50, and then I think I creeped up to 60-40 on thinking that Hargrave would get done. There's been nothing to lead me down that road to think that it will get done. I'll continue to hope until a week from Sunday that maybe they find a way to get it done, but it looks like it's going to be Haden, and then that's it.
Yeah, I'll wait to talk about Hargrave if it doesn't get done, because who knows, but it seems very, very unlikely that it does get done, and I really believe that means that Hargrave's probably playing his last year in a Steelers uniform.
The only way to keep him would be to tag him.
Yeah, and that could be expensive. Will be expensive.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can look at it this way: the price of that tag versus what he makes this year. You could justify it. It'd be tough with no guarantee. Once you tag those guys, you're telling them that that's worth what they're worth this season on top of it. And don't forget that you're going to have to. You would think that next offseason you're going to try to get James Conner extended. You're going to try to get Juju Smith-Schuster extended. Cameron Hayward deal's definitely coming.
Villanueva's not too far away.
You got the question marks about Villanueva. Yeah,
could you do the old Max Starks Jason World's transition tag? Does that even exist a year from now with Hargrave?
It's so flimsy.
Yeah, I know, but
he'd get an offer sheet.
Yeah, well, I think you probably do that in mind and just kind of let a team make an offer to gauge the market value and match it or decline it.
If it's a foregone conclusion that you're not, why wouldn't you put the tag on him?
Right. If you know he's going to hit the free agency anyway, you might as well tag him and.
Why not spend the extra? You're splitting hairs at that point. I think to me, it's not like a Jason World situation, because you know what kind of player. You got an impact player there.
Yeah. I agree. Again, I think he's gone if it doesn't get done. But anyway, I will save that for another time. Dave, let's get to some reader emails here to close out the show.
Oh Lord, these ought to be good.
Yeah, let's see.
I haven't even.
All just Tuzar Skipper, keep Tuzar Skipper.
Derek Dimmy writes in, Dave and Alex, you always say. Let's see. You always say there are no absolutes. So, what are the chances of all things happening? Gilbert 3 makes the team. We think that's up there. Fred Johnson makes the team. They keep 8 offensive linemen. That's obviously the way I ended up going. That's not the way I would have gone prior to last night's game.
Mm-hmm.
Full disclosure. Prior to last night's game, I would have kept Fred Johnson and waived Tuzar and put Tuzar on the practice squad. So I mean, absolutes. I mean, I can't put Fred Johnson in an absolute that he makes the team. How about that? Sutton Smith makes the practice squad. I don't think that's an absolute.
I thought last night was encouraging, but I don't think it's an absolute. If Tuzar makes the 53, that would really help Sutton Smith. And I do think he makes it, but I wouldn't call it an absolute.
He has, what are the chances of all things happening? Steelers cut Switzer or Eli Rogers. I think there's a chance of that. Would I bet my house on it? No. Steelers
let me rephrase that. Is there a chance they cut Switzer?
Less so than Rogers.
How much less so? Because I can't see any scenario where Switzer
a lot less so. I still wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't put 100% on it. I would not bet my house on it. Do I think Switzer's going to get cut? No.
What percentage does Switzer ever make in that team? I'm doing a bonus
99%.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like 99.9%.
Steelers keep 10 linebackers. I mean, I wouldn't bet my house on it, but that's the way to me, that's the only way it's going to happen for you to keep Tuzar.
Mm-hmm.
Duck Hodges is with the team. Where are you with Duck Hodges in the practice squad, young man?
Okay, don't young man me. I still think he should. I still think he deserves it. I know last night was kind of a sour note to go out on, but I'm not going to forget about all the craziness about him prior to Thursday night when he got stuck in a really bad situation behind a poor offensive line. So yeah, I think he deserves to be a practice. You talk about guys that have done pretty much everything possible to make it in some capacity. I know he's not going to make the 53, and that's fine, but he deserves to be kept as a number 4.
So I'm going to be disappointed if you don't carry him all the way through the practice squad.
We'll see. Find out tomorrow morning.
Gentry makes the team.
Coin flip. Just can you find a better option?
You could see a situation where Gentry makes the 53, but not the week 1 53 maybe. Steelers sign a player outside the organization. That's another $1 million question, man. Odds. I mean, history says somebody's going to be on this team that hasn't been on this team yet.
Right. Kevin, this is at no time is Kevin Colbert more active than this time of year, making roster tweaks.
Derek, you've obviously been following along. You've got everything in there that are good questions, that's for sure. Bryce writes in, this is Bryce, we're 10 days away from opening day. I can't wait. Here are my hot takes from last night's game. For a guy that's not supposed to have as strong of an arm, Mason Rudolph sure does like to push it deep. Showed he can make all the throws and plays with no fear. I like that a lot. My quarterbacks, I believe, Bruce Arians called it grit, and you got to love to see that. He's my clear number 2. No disappointment. I mean, no disagreement, I don't think, from Alex and I on that. Let's see. Number 2, used to be a time when churning out linebackers was the Steeler way. We've gotten away from that a little bit, and it's shifted to our development of wide receiver being the story. Time to bring back to the linebackers and keep both UG3 and Skipper. You simply can't trust that Bud will put up double-digit sacks. And look, I know a lot of people want to go into what's going to happen next year. I don't think you can build a roster that way.
Yeah, I think Tomlin said that before the Panthers game. You build a team that helps you to win now.
And I think you can make an argument that Skipper could potentially be a guy that can help you now, more so than a guy than Johnson. So, but I think, would I be more tempted to look to the future? Yes. But this is we're in the now, man. You got to win it this year.
Yep.
And all those hurt, so you still don't know what you're getting. You'll need depth for this year and next year. If Bud walks, Vince Williams will be older. Keep the young linebackers. Look, we're in favor of keeping along the linebackers, but Bryce, I think you're missing a boat where the Steelers think as far as looking past this year. He says, I like Eli Rogers as a slot guy and route runner, but with Randy Fichtner most likely keep looking to move Juju all around outside and slot to avoid double teams. Steelers will need another outside wide receiver type. Blah blah blah. Holton's ability to take the top off the coverage that we contribute on special teams. We'd like to keep him. Look, that's the whole thing that we got into here with Johnny Holton. I've been looking for a reason to keep him, and he's another guy that heading into last night's game, he would not have been on my 53. After last night's game, he is. Do you feel the same?
Yep, the exact same way. He made a compelling case last night.
Josh Cummings has 3 random question that probably doesn't mean much now. Did Chris Boswell has performed well and appears to be locked now to stay. Alex mentioned on the podcast last week that there were like 3 different guys practicing long snaps. Look, make no mistake about this, folks. I mean, it's all fun to talk about all these guys long snapping. None of them were ever a threat to Cameron Kennedy.
Yep. Sorry, Christian Kuntz. Nice job, but thank you very much.
It's fun to talk about, right? But, I mean, did you ever consider these guys legitimate long snappers?
No, that's not their primary background. I guess Kuntz is probably more than that than anybody they brought in, but he's still not going to take Kennedy's spot.
When you describe the Steelers' offseason long snapper situation, how many long snappers did they have on the 53 or on the 90?
That have snapped in any capacity?
How many long snappers? It's a generic but deceptive question.
Okay, see that? Yeah, you're just confusing me more. There
have
been many guys that have.
How many true long snappers have they had on this 90?
One.
That's what I'm looking for here.
Okay, all right.
But
they've had a lot of guys do it. I mean, just for the record,
sure.
they've had like 6 guys.
Sure, but how many long snappers have they had?
No, I agree. Yeah, one. Kennedy's he's the guy. He's fine.
I mean, it was never a threat in that situation there. Second question. Say Ola and Chick are not 100% into week 1 and may need to go to IR for return. Who are some veteran candidates to be cut Saturday who would not be exposed to waivers? I think Alex, already talked about potentially Dangerfield maybe being that guy if that's not a waiver situation there.
And even if it is, I don't think there's any chance he gets claimed. So I'd be more comfortable with that than someone like a Skipper or Johnson.
He's got an Alualu on here, maybe.
Does that contract do anything with that 2-year deal? Is there a dead money hit?
There would be some dead money in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I'm not creating dead money for that. I think you just got Dangerfield. He'll be fine.
Second question is the idea of keeping
Banner? You cut Banner? Did you cut Banner?
He has question mark Banner, question mark Alu in his question here.
Okay. I wouldn't cut Zach Banner because I wouldn't cut Lyman.
Ian McCullough writes in, my name is McCullough. Ian is fine from Michigan. Thank you, David Knox. Flat out awesome coverage. Off-season camp, preseason, best in the business. Even with Dave's odd references, I really get. I wonder what odd reference he's getting. Some of my pop culture ones, you think?
McCullers?
No.
I'm still off on the old question.
No, this is his name is McCullough.
No, I know. I'm referencing players you could cut. I'm still on the previous question.
Oh, okay.
Of veterans you could cut.
Yeah.
He signed a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal?
I thought it was 2 with him.
Was it 2? Okay. Yeah, maybe not then.
Now you got me confused.
Maybe it might have been 2. I don't know how much of a dead money hit there would be. I still think it Dangerfield. I'm sorry to the emailer that I'm robbing of the time right now.
2 years, $250,000 signing bonus.
Yeah. It'd be Dangerfield.
Let's see here. Here's my question. How many non-starters who don't play special teams can the team afford to carry? How many such players should they carry? This is a general question and is not meant to be about Kozora Skipper. I generally agree with you both that it's hard to justify carrying him unless Ola has a long-term injury. I haven't exactly kept track, but I can't think of many over the recent years other than backup quarterbacks. We had James Harris and Justin Hunter, both of whom were often inactive, so seems like a low number each year, or just players with the initials JH. So I guess how many players that aren't kind of regulars, non-starters that don't play special teams. That's what makes Eli Rogers kind of tough, even though he kind of technically, can be a punt returner. He doesn't do much else, or doesn't do anything else.
Yeah, most of these backups are playing special teams unless you're talking about a lineman that even those guys could be on the field goal team.
Right, and I didn't even I left them out of my total snaps update because it's just so
well, not pretty
worth
forgettable.
tracking.
Right.
Let's see. John Caldarelli writes in, duck flying to the practice squad, now a more protected species. He's making some plays on words there. I remain a big fan of Devlin Hodges despite a poor showing in the second half of the Panther game. I believe the undrafted rookies still look more like a NFL quarterback than some on this team. Mason Rudolph is clearly the number 2 and has the look of a potential starter with a very porous offensive line protecting him and wide receivers, most of which will be cut by Saturday. Hodges has earned the opportunity to develop on the practice squad. In fact, with this Carolina game tape, he probably won't be a target to be stolen from the practice squad, which was my biggest fear. I believe he has earned his spot to develop his potential as a solid contributing NFL quarterback. Let's not allow our O-line, our depth at the quarterback position to go south. Sign Duck to the Steelers practice squad. Thanks, go to Steelers. We'll see what Alex thinks about that here very soon.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Duke Dawson just got traded to Denver from New England, so we're getting the trades and the cuts. They're going here.
What did they get? Just a pick or what?
Let's see. Make sure I just had the tweet here. Duke Dawson went to Denver. It was Duke Dawson and a 7th to Denver. Patriots get a 6th-round pick.
Okay, they're just recouping maybe what they sent off for one of them linemen, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a pick swap, but Patriots moving up quite a bit, I guess.
Saloon Arugo. I'm a great fan of yours from, I can't even pronounce, Curitiba, Brazil. Congratulations on your great show. Sorry for butchering your name. Congratulations on your great show. I hear it every week while walking my dog. I've been a fan of the Steelers since 1992 when we were able to start watching NFL games in Brazil. It was love at first sight. I have a question for you. Do you think the problems with defending tight ends are over with our defense of today? With this defense, can we stop them? Specifically the seam routes. Another question to test the quality of our defense for this season. If we had the same defense of today during Super Bowl XLV against the Packers, would we have been better chance of stopping Aaron Rodgers and winning the game? Great talking to you. Let's have a great season. Oh, wow. Look, you would hope with a guy like Devin Bush, you're going to be better protected against the tight ends, right? Boy, can that guy get from middle of the field to the sideline.
Yeah, I think you're better. You have more speed, you have more flexibility, you have more answers. So in theory, they should be better at covering all that stuff.
If we had the same defense of today against the Packers, would we have better chance of stopping Aaron Rodgers and winning the game?
I don't think about that stuff. All spilt milk.
Yeah, that's way out there in the review mirror there. Let's Bill Bix. Let's see. Trying to find if we have anything else here that we didn't cover. I think we got Bill Bixler. We already talked about him in the camera angle. So I think we got it there, Alex. So the next podcast will be Monday. We'll obviously be recapping all the cuts, the initial 53-man roster. We'll talk about maybe guys that were traded, more guys that were traded around the league, maybe guys that didn't clear waivers. We'll go over the sure to be a short list of guys around the league that were claimed off of waivers. We might have some initial salary cap information in for not only this year, but next year. Give you a quick outline of that, maybe if I have time. What else do we have? Maybe a Joe Haden contract extension. We'll be talking about that maybe come Monday as well, too. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we did during this offseason and want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. If you want a ad-free version of the site of SteelersDepot.com and you want to help us out in the process like so many have done this offseason, please go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar. For $25, you can have an ad-free version of the site for 1 calendar year there. Thanks for all the tremendous support throughout this offseason process. Our guys at Touring Plans as well too. Tim Rice, all the great contributors. Josh Carney, name them off. Matthew Marksey, Daniel, name them all off, Alex.
Tom Mead, Nick Farbaugh, Michael K. Reynolds, David O,
Melanie Friedlander.
Mel, yep, Dr. Mel. Yeah, just great work, and let's get the season started.
Yeah, we look to continue providing this stuff into the season as well too. Thanks everyone. Thanks for the contributions to the site as well. And as always, thanks for listening.
Daniel Valente. I want to mention.
Daniel Valente.
I think that was everybody.
Are we missing anybody? We got Tim in there. Oh, David O.
I mentioned David O. Yeah.
Okay, you got David O. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.